And I just thought I'd come out here and talk about the whole incident, the violent incident happened yesterday after the attempted beheading that happened on Monday night in North Belfast. One thing we can take from the past few nights is that there is first of all, a massive racist agenda being spread throughout the entirety of the North of Ireland. Because whenever there's any violent crime done, people immediately start blaming it on a migrant. And then if it isn't, and it's revealed that it isn't a migrant, the level of social outrage just disappears. People no longer care about it. And there are cases and proofs all throughout Belfast to prove this. For example, there was no that when Natalie McNally was strangled and stabbed to death whilst being 15 weeks pregnant, all, all because she was stabbed by a Lisbon-born and raised man. But why was no ad for that if we are defending our communities, defending from our own individuals, defending from everyone, not just the migrants? And in a second example of this, where were the that when a 27-year-old mother of two, who was also 34 weeks pregnant, was killed, Sarah Montgomery, all because she was murdered by Zach Hughes, who was a Belfast-born individual? No, that clearly shows that it isn't defending our communities, it's spreading your racist hatred. These riots are being fueled by this racist hatred. This racist hatred is being spewed all over social media by multiple public figures. Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, Reform, all spreading these racist hatred towards migrants. Yesterday, Belfast saw its second wave of violent riots against migrants in the past year. The last one was the 12th of June. They were the 9th of June. So why have we had two violent riots because of two individual crimes done by migrants, when in that time period hundreds of people have been killed by Irish and British citizens in Ireland? So, but I do want to be absolutely clear. I am not saying all migrants can kill whoever they want. No, the victim of this brutal attack deserves justice to be had, and the perpetrator deserves to face the full extent of the law. However, it is an individual crime, not a crime done by a collective group. But people are using this tragic attack to spread their hate, to spread their racism, to spread all this racist nonsense about, migration is bad, yada yada yada. We need to quickly change from blaming entire groups for the crimes of an individual, because that is how Hitler rose to power in Nazi Germany. He used the fact that some Jews committed crimes to spread hate about all Jews. And look at what happened there. Millions were killed. Millions of Jews. World War, where millions more were killed in. Here's a fact. Here's a fun thing for everyone to remember. Just if you only take anything from this, remember this: crime is not a race, gender, age, ethnicity, or religious issue. Crime is a criminal issue. I'm going to tell you some official statistics, which is why I'm looking down because I haven't moved down. 96% of domestic abuse crimes are caused by white individuals, and 9% are caused by white Irish British born citizens. That is according to PSNI's own statistics. But instead of protesting to have more safety for women, children, men, everyone, we decide, if few individuals decide to use this to use an incident done by a migrant to spread hate towards migrants. Last year, the PSNI recorded the highest level of race hate incidents in the past decade. There were 2,367 incidents of race hate, and there was 1,507 race crimes from 2020, from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. That was an increase of 37% from the previous year. 45% of these incidents occurred in Belfast alone. The reason I am stating that fact is because this highlights that the only real people being targeted are being targeted because of how they look, the ethnicity, the background, or the country they came from. However, even though those incidents are on the rise, migrants still want to come and work in the north of Ireland. 1 in 5 NHS workers in the north of Ireland are migrants. So innocent people who are working, living, and keeping our essential services running are being attacked by racist individuals because of an action of one individual. And whilst people are claiming that these individuals are violent, who was the ones that burnt down a glider yesterday? Who were the ones that burned down cars and burned houses down in East Belfast, had to get people evacuated from their homes? Who was the one that caused 62 fire incident reports to be filed from 9 to 10 last night? It wasn't the migrants, it was the racist individuals protesting against migrants. Also, masked men were stopping cars at night with baseball bats and asking them to prove they weren't immigrants. That is a very, very fine line to cross, because once people are being targeted based on assumed identities, it isn't about justice anymore. It isn't about protecting our communities. It's about being racist. And if we look through history, we can see exactly where that leads. Nazi Germany, just to remind you in case you don't, just look at Nazi Germany, how Hitler started his rise to power, and how Hitler did the same exact things people in Belfast and all over the north of Ireland were doing yesterday. And to any Irish person who was a part of the riots yesterday, it's very ironic that you were a part of it and being so anti-immigration, as Ireland as a country has been shaped by migration. Since the 1700s, 10 million Irish-born people have emigrated across the world. Most of these people emigrated across the world in search of a safety or a better opportunity. A lot of them during the famine moved to find better food, to find an opportunity for their family to live in, for their family to be safe, for their family to stay alive. So at one point in our history, us as Irish people were the outsiders, we were the migrants, and we were the ones arriving in search of safety and a better opportunity. So how do we as a group turn against migrants so quickly when our history is defined by immigration? Additionally, former Irish President Dr. Mary McAleese stated that Irish people have no moral basis to engage in racism, given our history of discrimination abroad. We were discriminated against abroad in America when people moved during the famine, where jobs were said, no Irish need apply. They were not giving us jobs. So why are we as individuals being racist and attacking innocent migrants who are working hard in our communities? Our past shouldn't create hatred towards migrants. If you actually look at our path, it should create empathy, and we should want to support and help migrants as much as possible. Again, I'm just going to reiterate that I'm not taking away from the fact that the crime was very serious and that the individual should be charged with the crime. However, it was an individual's crime. It wasn't a crime by a group. So violence against a group isn't the way to do it, because this allows people, this allows individuals to look at Ireland from across abroad and be like, and why are they being hated? Why are they being hated towards migrants? What if that happened to them when they came over to Australia, America, England, France, Portugal, Spain? What if an action of one of us caused massive violence against all of us in any of those countries? We wouldn't support it as Irish people. So why are we supporting it to happen in our own communities? And for them saying that we need to protect our communities, why don't we protect them from our own people? Why don't we protect them from individuals? It's not a group of people attacking us, it's individuals that are ruining our community. Because when it's a white person who commits the crime, we class it as an individual's crime. However, when an immigrant or someone who's being perceived as foreign commits the same crime, people start calling it a race or an ethnicity crime and start putting hatred out towards migrants or different races or different ethnic groups. And I can also 100% guarantee you that some of the individuals who took to the streets yesterday are claiming to be defending our communities are the same ones who will end up committing a crime or have already committed crimes towards people in our communities.